Hi, Loic.
Hello, Vlad. How are you?
Good, good. Very nice to have you with us. So, you're working you created Hearst.
Yes,
Uh,
we did.
you've been a speaker and a joyful presence in Athens as a speaker and as a sponsor. But the community doesn't necessarily know you very well.
Okay. Okay. Why not?
So, we're in our Hashrate series where we explore the universe of mining and hash rate around Alephium. So we thought it was interesting to have you with us to explain what you do. Let's start at the beginning. Who
Okay.
are you? Where do you come from? And how do you get into crypto?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Vlad, for giving me the opportunity to explain a bit more what we do and our passion for proof of work computing, the way we call it. So who I am, I'm French. You can hear from my accent. I was born in the south of France. My parents are entrepreneur. My mother is working with my father. I mean, they're running a family business. I'm an engineer by training, so mechanical engineer by roots. It comes from family. Worked five years in the space industry. I was a project manager working on different topics like telecommunications, mostly. I've done as well as some military, a project as well. And then I deeply wanted to work in computing, right? We were in 2013. It was the boom everywhere with all those companies from the Silicon Valley. And I was like, man, I want to jump the fence, right? I want to try these things. Looks cool. So I started to create a company with a friend. Was a startup, e-commerce, starting from e-commerce. And then I was like, well, I'm so far from business. I'm so far from understanding exactly technology. So I went back to school. I did an MBA on data science, and then I realized that okay, so I'm an engineer, I have an MBA, right? So I understand business, but still very far from computing. And so I did 1 year of specialization in Paris for data science. So that's where I really started into computer science. And though I spent 4 or 5 years doing data science stuff within the big companies here, very insightful. I work on innovation as well for 3 years, and this is where I met my partner, who actually Adrian, who co-founded, who I co-founded Earth with. Adrian is a friend of mine, right? I know him for 15 years, but he was doing different stuff. And we met, and he said, "Look, I'm doing some crypto funny stuff. Would you like to join?" I was like, well, since Bitcoin stuff, okay, well, maybe, yeah, okay, let's do. And so I went to Dubai and started my journey like this. So yeah, it was very interesting. We decided because there were a lot of opportunities, and because of my roots in innovations, I decided to okay, let's build an incubator, right? Let's have 4 or 5 different topics and let's assess them, right? Let's do a PS feed, problem solution feed. Let's see which team we can gather, right, and what ultimately will become a, let's say, a winning success. And amongst these, Earth became became obvious, right? It was me, the innovation guy, and Adrian, the mining guy, and merging those two stories were fitting so well because when you realize it, and I realized it myself, um, we are still in a very early stage of mining in terms of tools, in terms of sophistications. Whether it's about how do we propose mining, how do we do the mining, and how we deliver it.
Okay, so wait. Just let's take a step back. So first, introduce us your co-founder very briefly, like Adrian. Where does he come from? What's his background?
Yeah, so Adrian I would say, is an entrepreneur. He started his career building a forex fund in Luxembourg. He started in finance this way, and then quickly, after a couple of years, forex is highly challenging, and he decided just to move to crypto because he is a good friend, a very good friend of many crypto founders by roots, and that was the story of his life, right? This forex exchange he started to create it with one of the founders of Swissborg and also one of the founder of AKT, who is named today Ryan, which is a neobank, right? And so it quickly started to jump into this blockchain adventure, and because of the people he knew, etc., back in 2016, 17, he started to do mining. He mostly has done Ethereum mining with the
Yeah.
GPUs back in the days, and but he also has done Bitcoin mining. So he was starting low, and then it became bigger after the series of bull run, and so that's exactly where I met him. Right, he was at the top. and
So,
we decided to do that.
so we have a well-studied entrepreneurial guy, full of ideas and creativity for innovation on one hand, and the other hand, we have a very connected finance mining guy who get together, and
Yeah,
so they create Hearst. So, what
yeah,
is Hearst? Can you just give us a brief overview of Hearst
yeah.
and its core business and what you're actually doing?
Of course. So what we the root of Earth is innovation in in computing, right? In what we call neo computing. It's obviously blockchain computing, so proof of work mining, but it's also AI computing, right? Because of my roots, I've spent a lot of time and I see that there is a huge demand. So right, we're just innovating in these areas. Now, what the innovation we brought to the market? The first innovation is the what we call mining as a service, because when we jumped into the industry, we asked ourselves, okay, what are the best, uh, what is the use case, right? What is the use case of mining? And Adrian, with his background in finance, said it's so difficult to create, value from a capital, right? To create more value. And he said, let's crunch a bit some numbers on mining and see what we get. And we realized that throughout the years, right, and since the inceptions, mining has always been profitable, right? More or less, depending on what you do, how much you buy the machines, what is your electricity and hosting setup, etc., etc. But overall, if a couple of guidelines are respected, right, that you don't buy your machines 15 times the price, if you have a correct price of electricity, if you have good uptime, etc., etc., it's profitable. And so mining as a service is a bundle of services that we basically allocate to our institutional customers, who are banks, centralized exchange, and funds, so they can create more capital based on based on this asset. That's pretty much what we do. We are not a financial product, right?
Mm.
That's a bit the particularity of our business. We explain the market to our customers. We explain why it could be profitable, right? Where it can go, what it has been, and then it's up to our customers to make the call, right? And what they buy is hardware that we run into premium hosting facilities that we have selected with great partners. That's the inception point. And then we had created other innovations. We are working on different stuff, whether it's engineering, whether it's digital, right, to manage the flows of funds. We created NFTs, etc., etc. So that's what Earth is about.
And you shared with us in Athens in your slides a little bit of how it looks like to a client with the dashboard and stuff.
Yeah.
So I will put the video in description. You're actually dumbing it down somehow for people. So you're abstracting complexity, right? Like they say, I want to mine this and that, and you're like, okay, let me buy the machine, operate here or there. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, that's what we do, and it's hiding the complexity, but also because look, you can't always hide the complexity. The complexity is what it is. This is what you buy, and these are the forces, right, trying to drag. If you ultimately want to hide complexity, you can say, look, we believe that it could give you, but that's not what we do, and we don't want to, have false promises. Right, so we drag people to the main KPIs, to the biggest driving forces. And when it comes to hosting facilities, look, don't bother. We already selected the best hosting facility in the world with the most attractive price that will secure your assets. That's what we do. But again, when we talk about complexity, difficulty, so difficulty of the chains, revenues, prices, forecast, etc. Well, that's mathematics, right? That's you can do Monte Carlo simulations, you can run AI on it, etc. Right? It's modeling. So this is what we do. This is what we believe. Then this is where our assistance. It's again limiting the complexity for the customers, and also limiting the risk as well, and in the back office, I would say, of things.
And you mentioned also that you have a thing for green mining. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, because look, the root of mining is energy, right? Anyone who say the opposite is not understanding, right, the industry, everything. And even Michael Sellers said Bitcoin is energy, right? So we are consuming energy to do our proof of work, right, and to validate transactions. Now, we need to understand where the energy is coming from for a couple of reasons. When it's cheap, somehow it's dirty. And the biggest challenge is try to find the right balance, right, between cheap energy but also limiting the impact on environment. What we believe is today, um, there is green energy that can be leveraged to power proof of work mining. For example, we're thinking of solar coupled with batteries. We're thinking of potentially biogas. We are thinking of a couple of things that potentially can really help. Greening, I would say, the industry, and not just doing some greenwashing. Yeah, we some near the hosting facilities there is some water and whatever. So we are really trying to push the boundaries, and just to be very tangible. Today, as a company, we are maturing our product mining as a service, and we are fundraising, right, to launch our first proof of concept, in order to really have the not only just a idea, but really investors, you can come. Here is the site. Here is the biogas. This is how we turn some biomass into energy, and this is how we consume it into we transform it into coin mine, right? So this is the stage of where we are in the company. We have advisors, right, who are renowned and PhD in air energy, that are part of our board of advisors. They are located in Middle East. They're also located in Switzerland, and so this is what we want to do, right? Not only just doing greenwashing, but really having a sustainable impact on our industry.
Interesting. So, as you know, taking into account the sustainability of mining is also part of Alephium's DNA, and it's also the reason why proof of less work was invented. That drives me logically to the question: like, can you share with us how did you found Alephium? What caught your attention here? And okay, you've been now in the community for, let's say, quite a while. Uh, Tell us a bit more about, yeah, the itinerary in the Alephium ecosystem.
So I would say that, so first, how we got in touch with Alephium, right? Again, it's Swissborg, who are customers of ours, that I don't know, put us in touch with the foundation, and we had the chance to have our first exchange. Now, what I really love and personally love about Alephium is two things. First, the technology, because I really believe that what is being built by the team is just incredible and really a step ahead of everything else I've seen in the industry. And so that's my personal belief from a technological standpoint. I feel we are really at the front, right, of the industry of the future and what is needed, either in terms of technology, right, or tangibly from a blockchain standpoint, smart contract and everything, but also from a environmental standpoint, right, with the proof of less work. So that's the first pillar. And then on personal note, all the people that I've met at Alephium are just incredible people, professional, and the vibe is incredibly smooth, right? Things are happening, and that's nice, right? Because it's not always been the case with everyone that we're working with, and that's very something I'm attached about Alephium.
About that, I'm very jealous of the setup of your interviews on the boat with Mod. Like, they're awesome. Like, I will also put the links in the description. Like, you published the second one recently. Yeah, the vibes are good. So since you've been coming to Alephium, there's things have changed on the mining front, right? ASICs have onboarded,
Yeah.
let's say, in a big way, actually. And this changes a little bit the game. So, like, from the GPU miners to the ASICs mining, can you tell us a bit, like, how you see, what's your experience, like, with the professionalization, in a way, of the mining market of a specific chain? Because I guess you're mining multiple chains, right?
Yes.
Multiple coins. So tell us what happens in an ecosystem when miners come on board.
So first and foremost, it's a very good news for the chain, right? Because it's really the signal that the chain is having a step ahead, right? It's going above. It's really great for me. It's first a very good signal. Now, what is happening? What are the driving forces? My opinion: before the ASIC comes onto the chain, GPU is used, right? The thing is, as soon as the ASIC comes, the GPU comes obsolete. So that's the first effect, where GPUs miners needs to adapt. and potentially transition right to the ASIC mining. That's for me the first effect. And the second effect is it depends then about the ASIC manufacturer, but what we've seen usually is an exponential growth, right, into the hash rate very quickly in the 6 to 12 months, and that is due by an increasing, number of miners coming into the market, coupled with an improvement on the efficiency, right? So we see that more and more and more miners comes on the market, and on top they start with potentially 10, 15 terahash, and they goes quickly to 20, 25, 30, right? So that these two coupled makes an exponential growth. And what we've seen as well, and we've seen it recently on Caspa, price tend to drop as well. Okay. So that are the driving forces. So we've embraced this change with Hearst. We are definitely supporting and proposing this product to our customers. And yeah, we already seen that the hash rate went from 2 to 12, right? And I think it's just the beginning. We've seen soon gonna see 50, 100. And my guess is by, I don't know, 18 months, we will be already close to a couple of hundreds petahash, right? So the road to 1 exahash will not take 10 years.
Okay, hopefully not. We're getting ready anyways. So that's really interesting. So today your clients, they can mine Alephium, they can buy Bitcoin, they can mine Bitcoin or Litecoin or a few other coins, I guess.
Yeah.
But when you mine Bitcoin or Litecoin, your only alternative is to either sell or hodl, right? With Alephium, there's smart contracts, there's DeFi apps, so people can do more things. So you, as an operator of mining, what do? Do you leave that entirely up to your client to decide what he wants to do with his ALF, or do you propose also to drive him around the ecosystem so that he can find maybe additional opportunities?
So with Hearst, and our point of view is we want to help our customers end to end, right, in their I would say mining life cycle, and more than just life cycle, just cycle, right, from you buying, getting the reward, and what you do with your reward, because again, our customers are owners of their machines, and we invoice them every month with their electricity bill, right?
Mhm.
And so that starts here, right? How do you pay your electricity bill? You have mined whatever coin, Bitcoin Cash, Alephium. The question is, how do you sell? So then there is a first thing, right? You can either take your BTC into ERC20, and I'm talking just for BTC because it's happening now. BTC ERC20, and you have the opportunity to just sell your Bitcoin. So, or you can just use a borrowing lending protocol and do the collateral, right? So you take your Bitcoin, you put it as a collateral, you borrow stable coins, you pay electricity with it, and then it goes beyond, right? Because it's today something that we leave our customers do, but still it's an assessment, and on the platform you can also see your profitability, right? That evolves based on whether you've sold your Bitcoin, whether you've collateralized them, etc., etc. So, and for example, we have customers that follow the collateralization way back in 23, right, when they started to mine with us in April, and today they have seen their profitability just explode. Why? Just because Bitcoin has done a 2-3 digit, on its value. So in Alephium, that will be exactly the same, right? We want to help customers to make a wise choice when it comes to what I do with my harvest, right? Should I collateralize? Should I sell? What should I do? And so for that, we also will propose, right? We are talking with alt banks, we are talking with different partners to make sure that we will provide the tools that are useful tools. Again, we don't want to, let's say, to mess a bit the message that we have in the value proposition. We just want to be lean, and like I said, from start to end of the cycle of mining.
Interesting. And can you tell us a bit more about so your clients are mostly institutional clients, right? They would probably buy several machines and have them running for quite a while.
Yes.
How do you talk to them? How do you explain? Are they all educated already on crypto, or do you have to explain? Okay, Alephium is like this, Bitcoin is like that. And can you tell us about the feeling you get from these institutions about Alephium? Because in the community, mostly people looking at this video, they know Alephium pretty well. They know it from the discussions, and it's a small world, right? Like, but it's interesting for us to hear about the point of view of someone who's going outwards to institutions, to a world that is different, a little bit separate for now.
Yeah. So to be completely honest, Vlad, today we talk to people that that few of them understand crypto, right? So they know buzzwords like Bitcoin, etc. But I can tell you that even to educated people in crypto blockchain, we talk about mining, they don't understand much,
Mm.
right? So that's the level. They know few cryptos, they don't know anything about mining. That's it, most of them, right? Some of our customers are extremely knowledgeable. I'm not saying, right, there are different levels, but who are we targeting with our product of mining? Is institutions in general that heard about ETF, that heard about the Bitcoin, that want to get involved, but also want to get involved in a different way. What I'm telling you that is, look, tomorrow when I go and say, look, you buy assets that are producing value. I'm using even the analogy of, look, mining is equal to, bank and central bank. They are here to process the transactions and give the tools so people can process the transaction. And on top of that, they're also here to issue the new coin. So we create just some sort of analogy, right, of what they currently know and where, and just to onboard them very progressively into our story and our product. Now, when it comes to Alephium, of course, I mean, and the players that we talk to, and we were talking with about Swissborg, they know you very well and are getting involved into mining as well. But not everyone, right, knows the other proof of work chain. There is Bitcoin, and the others doesn't exist. But we want to promote that, right, because we also believe that the future of blockchain is proof of work, a sustainable proof of work, and we want to continue to push that, right. We think that's the best way to decentralize, our technology, and to continue to do so.
Interesting. And like, what's your why did you? So you said like your partner was very involved in proof of work for Ethereum
Yes.
for a while. Why didn't he follow to proof of stake? What's your take on proof of stake?
You want my opinion?
Yes, yeah, just
Profitability.
okay.
Yeah, that's simple. Today, you have 4% with your proof of stake, right? Well, good, but I think proof of work is beating, is definitely beating, right? This profitability, and also I think it comes from profitability, and also because he's been a guy from the when you are, I think there is two words. When you do proof of work, you are a guy from the field, right? You go, you build your farm, you plug electricity, you run your farm. It's a bit noisy, right? That's a different, let's say, approach than just to stake your Ether on a node, right, or something. It's completely different vibe, right? So I think beyond that, the profitability, because it's of course a criteria, but I would say that it's deeper in his core, right? And if you met him, right, you will quickly see that he's a guy from the field, right? Makes things happen, plugs the machines, make things happen, etc. So I would say that it's a mix of both.
What's interesting to me is that recently we see more and more in, let's say, innovation, or at least attempts to do hybrid consensus mechanism in a way. So in a way, proof of less work is hybrid at some point, but like you have like Dash, who's a little bit of both, right? Proof of work and proof of stake. You have like a few others who do different coin burning and proof of work, or coin burning and proof of stake, like different stuff. I think there's a complexification that is happening that is also interesting and provides opportunities. You talked about AI. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Because okay, that's the buzzword of the moment, of course. We are very friends with Flux, who's also doing something. Not Flux the crypto, not Flux the LLM model, but they have this proof of useful work that they want to use to do AI. I think they're actually doing it. What can you tell us a bit more what you are doing and what you want to do with the compute for AI, and how do you make it work?
Yeah, well, AI, I could spend hours talking about it. It's, not because look, Vlad, it's a passion for me, right? I've been in AI, so-called AI, for 8 years. I think AI, the beginning of AI is data, right?
Yeah.
So I've been in data for a while, I would say. So what we do today in Hearst and how we leverage, for me, machine learning, right, to create useful solutions. There is two things. First, we're using just the algorithm to try to enhance our services. So we tend to first give sentiment analysis, market trends, right, market insights on applying machine learning models on data that are coming from market. So it can be for um, revenue, it can be for hash rate, it can be for all these things, right? Sometimes the best prediction comes from not the most sophisticated machine learning, right? We see that as well in the industry. Not every time more is more, right? Sometimes less is more. It is very good. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is we also manage our operation with machine learning. So we tend to basically get the signals from the hosting facilities and try to do predictive maintenance, right? You see that the machines start to have somehow a pattern of behaviors, and you see that potentially there is X, Y, Z that you need to preventively replace on the machines in order also to maximize availability of the park. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is we're going to release a chatbot, LLM chatbot. So basically, we're not training it, right? We're just using, we're checking a couple of different options, whether it's Llama, Mistral AI, or other type of models. But basically, we're going to give the access of the customer's data to this LLM. So instead of just going into your dashboard and get exposed to all the KPIs, you just go to the chat and you say, hey, can you tell me what is the transaction I got yesterday? Can you tell me X, Y, Z? We can also plug it with the prediction. So can you tell me what is the market trend, etc., etc. So you just have a conversation with an agent or with a
Yeah.
bot, and not. So that's the first thing we do. And on the other side, we are working with partners on deploying computing, for AI. So because whether it's about training the model or it's about inferring on the model, some specific, computing power are requested. So these are GPUs, but specific type of GPUs. And so we are also providing these services to our customers to make sure that, because they can go into the big guys, right? Amazon, Microsoft, etc., to get their model trained and predicted. But some of them, they just want to buy the hardware and get the service of hosting, right? To make sure that they have a proprietary, hardware. So we are having the same approach as well for AI. That's what.
It's a different way of mining, right? It's just mining, but something different. Like,
Absolutely. As it's
yeah,
consumption of energy to mine something, that is definitely fungible. I mean, if we go this
yeah,
way, right, it's not unique. And again, I got a very interesting talk recently with a colleague of mine, an AI expert, Michael, and interestingly, we were talking about the intersection of AI and blockchain. And let's think about it, right? If data is the ground, right, of any AI stuff, and when you think about the social media, right, the data can be ours. So you can imagine that any piece of data can be encrypted in the blockchain, and every time they are used in the model that is profitable or create some values, then you can make the link between the two, right? And thanks to the blockchain. So, and I feel that we had these crazy ideas back in the days. It was part of one
yeah.
of our projects. But anyway, I think there is a link, and the
In the
link can be
ICO
small.
boom, there was this project who wanted to do an ICO. I don't remember the name or if it worked anyway. But like, you know how rights management is complicated for creators, right? Like, and
Yeah,
then you have like on a given song, you have the at least 10 or 12 different stakeholders.
yeah.
And then the idea was that you could automatically pay everyone every time it's streamed. I don't know. Sometimes I think we're building ourselves a nightmare world with this transactionalization of everything. But it's also very interesting and it allows for very new things.
Yeah, well, my point of view, Vlad, is if tomorrow you give me an opportunity to jump on a cool social network that, on top of having great interaction with my friend, will give me money anytime, some of my data is used on any use case, or any advertiser that comes to me, instead of the platform just getting all the money, they give me a share saying, hey, even though you haven't clicked on the ad, right, let's share because we are fair and everything. Look, I would be in it. I'll spend my day.
Well, I mean, that's because you're only considering the income part of the equation. For a lot of other things you're not paying today, you would have to pay. So
Yeah,
it's also like, I don't, we'll see.
you're right. You're right. But I
But
was just mentioning that
yeah,
there is use cases, right? And I feel
yes, yes.
ultimately there are things that will pop up between blockchain and AI. Yeah.
Okay, so that's very interesting. Like I'm slowly getting to the end of the list of my questions. I wanted to ask you, like, over the next, what should people look forward now that what's your new roadmap? What's the exciting thing that comes next?
Well, there are very exciting news that is coming. I can't disclose it yet, right? But we are preparing something I would say super cool for the mining on Alephium, right? So that's
Easy.
something I need to check on the roadmap, but that's going to be disclosed very soon in a couple of weeks. I mean, at least disclosed. We will have a website and we'll be ready to be out there, right, and presented. For now, we're still building. For Earth,
Is it a small soon or big soon?
well, I don't know what exactly would be
Okay,
the difference, but yeah, it's gonna be
okay,
a big soon. Yeah,
coming. Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Uh,
that's gonna be that's not exactly gonna be Earth, right? It's gonna be the way Earth believe there is that's the most relevant way of supporting the mining on Alephium. So I haven't said much. I've said too much, I would say, for now. So on Earth side, we're going to continue to sell our mining as a service for Alephium, but for the chains as well. We have a strong focus currently on reaching out to many different institutions to pitch our product and then to onboard them in this exciting adventure. We are also fundraising, right? As I said, the purpose is to raise capital to invest into infrastructure, very sustainable one, and having our proof of concepts. So that's where we are, and yeah, I would say aside of that, continue to do what we do. A fundraising purpose is also to start doing self mining for our company to pour and to fuel our growth. So that's our focus. And yeah, we have to expand the team. Everything is fine. Pretty happy as a founder when I see the people I have around me, the team we've built. I think that's super cool.
well, it's good to hear. Any last thing you want to share with the community?
Well, I want to, yeah.
I've seen you've launched your new website today.
Yeah, we have our new website. We are creating content. I think nice one on social media. We really want to give more information about what we do. We're gonna soon launch a educative a platform. It's not exactly educative platform, but it's more a series of talk, right, where we want to very comprehensively explain our industry, explain what we do, right, in order to people really understand what are the driving forces and how to is the best way to look at mining. Yeah, I mean, that's
That's
pretty it, and it makes me pretty busy as well.
that's
So
quite a lot. Okay, and the best way to follow your activities on Twitter?
yeah, we have two mains. I think Twitter is the best for our industry. Twitter is the best. We have everything on Twitter. I think we are also having a Instagram, so where we have more, let's say, graphical content. So I would say, yeah, Twitter and Instagram are the best. Um,
And LinkedIn for the institutions.
Yeah, LinkedIn is very cool for our business because it's where we're trying to develop our portfolio. It's where we find the new customers. So yeah. I'm not sure if the Alephium community is mostly on LinkedIn.
No, we're not focused on that, but we do have one, and it's useful to connect with other
Yeah,
projects.
and especially I believe as well because we are building the basement, right, of future solutions that ultimately will be integrated with traditional corporations that have need in logistic, exchange of value, etc. And so that's cool as well to be where they are, and so that get exposed quickly to potentially, I don't know, the supply chain use case of Alephium or this kind of stuff. I think this is exactly a place where we need to do a lot of education and to show ourselves as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Loic.
Thank you,
Uh,
Vlad.
it's good for today. We'll circle back later to know where you are, and we can't wait to see what you're launching.
Super. Anytime, Vlad. Enjoy the day.
Thanks. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye bye.